Imagine having the world's most advanced fighter jet in your hangar, only to realize that its full power may not be entirely in your hands. In an era of software-defined warfare, where control goes far beyond missiles and engines, this uncomfortable idea is spreading through European defense circles. A whisper, a theory, maybe even a rumor. What if the United States could remotely deactivate the F-35, like turning off a television? On paper, it sounds implausible. There's no concrete evidence of such a kill switch, and yet the concern remains. Not because it's been proven true, but because the fear behind it feels very real. No nation wants to discover at the worst possible moment that the jets they paid billions for might be grounded, not by enemy fire, but by an overseas ally withholding access. Even if there isn't an actual off switch, Washington still holds something just as critical: the infrastructure and logistics that make the F-35 more than just a plane. This is the deeper issue. Modern warfare is no longer just about owning hardware. It's about who controls the data, the code, and the supply chains. The F-35 represents all of this in one sleek digital package. And while no one expects the US to turn hostile overnight, the reliance itself on servers, updates, spare parts is increasingly seen as a risk. In this context, even an unproven theory can cause real-world consequences, especially when public trust is fragile and political winds are shifting. That's precisely what's happening now. Europe is reconsidering the idea that American protection is eternal and unconditional. And at the center of that reassessment is the F-35 program. Not because the aircraft underperforms, but because it's emblematic of deeper strategic dependency. The roots of this doubt go back several years. During the Trump administration, long-standing diplomatic assumptions were thrown into question. Military assistance became conditional. Article 5 of the NATO Treaty, the cornerstone of collective defense, was publicly second-guessed. Trump's moves may have had their own internal logic, but they shook the foundations of transatlantic security thinking. That shake-up has started a chain reaction. In March 2025, Portugal made headlines when its defense minister scrapped plans to purchase the F-35, citing the risk of relying too heavily on Washington's goodwill. Just days later, Canada, a close US ally and development partner in the F-35 project, announced that it too was reconsidering its commitment to the jet. This despite having already signed a $14 billion deal for 88 aircraft. The message was clear: even binding contracts aren't immune when the political climate shifts. Meanwhile, in Denmark, a prominent defense official took to Twitter to label American fighter jets a security liability, encouraging Europe to reduce its reliance on them wherever possible. The sentiment is spreading. In Germany, politicians and aerospace lobbyists are pushing the government to rethink its plan to acquire 35 F-35s as replacements for its aging Tornado fleet. France is capitalizing on the moment, promoting the Rafale as a fully European alternative, one that comes without foreign entanglements or hidden limitations. And this is where the anxiety over the so-called kill switch takes root. European leaders are increasingly asking the same question. Do we really want to be in a position where a political decision in Washington can paralyze our Air Force? No one seriously believes the US would shut down Allied aircraft with the push of a button. But the fact that such fears are even being discussed speaks volumes. The F-35 isn't just a fighter jet. It's a digital ecosystem, constantly connected to US-managed systems. It receives encrypted updates, mission files, and diagnostic data from infrastructure that is entirely controlled by the United States. These updates are essential. Without them, the aircraft can't adapt to evolving threats, can't avoid detection as effectively, and can't fully use its advanced sensors. Technically, the jet can still fly and fight, but not as the cutting-edge weapon it was designed to be. That's the quiet power Washington holds, not in some cinematic sabotage scheme, but through control over data and logistics. No kill code is needed. If the mission files are delayed, disrupted, or withheld, the operational strength of the F-35s in Europe would gradually fade. Within weeks or months, their combat relevance could deteriorate to the point of irrelevance. No dramatic interference required, just the slow squeeze of withheld support. That's what makes this scenario so unsettling. It doesn't require aggression, just policy. And the implications are political as well as military. A report in Germany, published by a major magazine, claims to have reviewed sections of the F-35 contract. According to the article, the US explicitly reserves the right to suspend support if it's deemed necessary to protect its national interests. While such a clause may seem like standard legal language, in a geopolitical context, it leaves dangerous room for interpretation. It becomes even more concerning when viewed alongside past actions, such as when Trump paused military aid to Ukraine to pursue a broader diplomatic strategy. That move signaled to Europe that even essential support can become a bargaining chip. The Pentagon, for its part, has denied the existence of any sort of remote deactivation feature. But by now, the damage to perception is already done. The idea of a kill switch doesn't need to be real to reshape decision-making. It only needs to be believable. And technically speaking, the dependency is undeniable. The F-35's most critical capabilities rely on mission data files, extremely sensitive, region-specific packages that allow the aircraft to identify threats, respond to jamming, and fly routes optimized to evade radar. These files are created, updated, and delivered through secure American channels. If that pipeline were interrupted, the jet's effectiveness would quickly erode, not because of sabotage, but because its brain would slowly stop learning. So even without a button to press, the US still holds an immense amount of influence over its allies' fleets. Operational independence isn't compromised by electronics, it's limited by access to software. This is the dilemma now facing Europe. If strategic sovereignty means reducing technological dependence, then diversifying away from US-built platforms becomes not just desirable, but necessary. That's why European nations are investing in alternatives, from the upcoming FCAS program to increased interest in the Swedish Gripen and the French Rafale. These jets may not match every F-35 capability, but they come with one powerful advantage: control. Of course, this transition won't happen overnight. It will require massive investment, time, and political commitment. For now, the F-35 remains operational across much of NATO. But each of those jets carries a silent footnote. Its freedom to fly and fight is ultimately gated by the infrastructure behind it. And that's what makes the so-called kill switch so effective, not as a piece of technology, but as an idea. It represents a growing awareness that in modern warfare, power isn't just about firepower, it's about who holds the keys to the code. Thanks for watching. If you found this perspective useful, consider supporting us with a free subscription to our channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time.